Evacuation warnings tonight in East County. The latest from firefighters as they try to contain a brush fire burning near Campo. The voters have spoken, and now we have our general election matchups. An update on the big races from last night's primary.
I'm very honored. This really tells me that we're on the right track, that we've gained the hearts and minds of the community.
Some races were decided last night, including the district attorney race. Summer Steffen talks to KPBS about her decisive victory.
Right now, for this next fall, we'll have about 5,700 beds that we will be operating, and then we anticipate when the Sophomore Success Program is fully implemented, we'll have about 8,000 beds that we will be operating.
A new plan for campus housing at San Diego State University and how it could serve as a model for redeveloping Mission Valley. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebone Monet. The stage is set in California's race for governor. It will be Democrat Gavin Newsom versus Republican John Cox in November's general election. Newsom finished in first place with 33% of the vote. Cox finished in second place with 26%, nearly double the showing of the third place finisher, Antonio Villaraigosa. Cox was in San Diego for election night. Newsom was in San Francisco. Here's some of what they had to say to their supporters.
We're a state where we don't criminalize diversity, we celebrate diversity. A state where we don't obstruct justice, we demand justice for everybody. Where we don't regulate a woman's body more than we regulate assault weapons out on our streets. And where we invest in children, Jeff Sessions, invest in children where we don't tear them from the loving arms of their mothers and their fathers. We don't do that.
Mr. Newsom made it clear that he wanted to run against me instead of another Democrat. Well, as I told him in San Jose at the debate, be careful, Mr. Newsom, be careful for what you wish for. Mr. Newsom and his corrupt cronies they did a bunch of ads touting their opposition to the president. Well, let's send him the very first message, and that is it wasn't Donald Trump who made California the highest tax state in the country. It was Gavin Newsom and the Democrats.
The race for governor has the attention of President Donald Trump, who endorsed Cox and followed up with a tweet of congratulations this morning. Gavin Newsom replied and urged the president to come to California to campaign on Cox's behalf as much as possible. A big question was answered last night in the 49th Congressional District. Democrats were not shut out of the top two spots, and now the focus turns to whether the party can still use the 49th to help gain the House majority. KPBS reporter Allison St. John has more.
The 49th was considered the most vulnerable Republican congressional district in the nation before Issa dropped out. He endorsed former California Assemblywoman Diane Harkey of Orange County, and she came out well ahead in last night's vote. But running second, third, and fourth were three Democrats. Mark Levin, an environmental attorney also of Orange County, is currently in second place, with Sandiegan Saren Jacobs close behind. Doug Applegate, who nearly defeated Issa in 2016, came in fourth. This leaves no doubt in this top two primary that there will be a battle ahead for the seat in November. Harkey is not complacent.
And I don't expect this one to be easy. It wasn't easy for Congressman Issa. It's certainly not going to be easy for me. But I do think I have strong support. I've worked the district for about 10 years now.
There are still tens of thousands of votes to tally. Levin says whichever Democrat ends up taking on Harkey, they stand a good chance of beating her in November.
I think Diane Harkey is Issa 2.0. he's his hand-picked successor, and I think we're going to be able to make our case quite strongly in the months ahead, why we're clearly going to represent the working people of this district and not just the very wealthy.
Voter registration in the district is still marginally more Republican, but Democratic registration has been gradually on the increase. Allison St. John, KPBS News.
In East County, it was an easy win for Republican Duncan Hunter. The congressman won his primary by more than 30 percentage points. But as Jade Heidman reports, Hunter's Democratic challenger is planning to put up a fight come November.
It's no surprise Republican incumbent Duncan Hunter is moving on to the general election. His father was a Republican member of the House of Representatives from 1981 till 2009. Since then, Hunter has followed his father's political path. The familiar name, Duncan Hunter, will now be challenged by a not-so-familiar name, Amar Campa-Najjar, a Democrat and ex-Obama official who looks to run a campaign on values.
We're going to lead with our values, but we're going to hold Hunter accountable when it comes to issues that are factual, like violating campaign finance laws, like misusing taxpayer money to build a wall that his father built. And for the past 9 years, Hunter was saying, my old man built this wall, and it's incredible, and reduced apprehensions by 95%. Then why are we going to spend money? Not Mexico, but we're going to spend our taxpayer money on a wall that we already have.
Duncan Hunter, the former Marine who's under federal investigation, has been quiet since the primary election. He led early returns with 48% of the vote, while his nearest challenger, Campa-Najjar, snagged 15%. Despite the uphill battle, Campa-Najjar is hopeful he can unseat the incumbent in a red district familiar with the Hunter name.
And this is not a campaign that's based on something that you inherit. You have to earn it on the merits. And just like everybody else in my district, we go out there, we earn our keep. And Hunter, this time, has to earn this seat. Daddy's not going to come and save him this time.
Jade Heidman, KPBS News.
Bill Gore has won his third term as a San Diego County Sheriff. Election results show he beat Sheriff Commander Dave Myers with 56% of the vote. Sheriff Gore spoke with KPBS today and talked about one of the issues in this race, the treatment of the mentally ill in county jail.
A lot of them should have never been in our jail to start off with. They should have been in some mental health facility, not in a jail. But where are they? Where are the mental health hospitals in this state? They're non-existent. So they end up in my jail. We try to prepare them, and our challenge now is to form partnerships and transition them back to the community so they can continue to get those wraparound service they need to become and maintain be productive members of our community again.
By a nearly 2-to-1 margin, voters have chosen interim District Attorney Summer Stephan to remain San Diego County's top prosecutor. KPBS reporter Taryn Minto talked to Stephan earlier today.
With all precincts reporting, Summer Stephan went from interim to elected district attorney with more than 60% of the vote.
Well, I'm very honored. This really tells me that we're on the right track, that we've gained the hearts and minds of the community, the broad-based support.
But most of the vote doesn't mean all of the vote. More than a third so far went to her opponent, Genevieve Jones-Wright. The deputy public defender ran on a platform that change was needed in the DA's office. Stephan says she's open to hearing from those voters.
If people are hurt and they're harmed, and if they have issues, and we want to hear them, we want to listen to them.
She says addressing that is partly up to her.
I think what is really important, and something that I learned on this campaign trail, is that we need to, as a DA's office, I need to do a better job letting the community know about our innovations and our programs that create win-win solutions.
Stephan says better communication is a top priority as she transitions from candidate to official.
Part of the campaign process has been that I've had to establish a social media presence, which I've never had before. And, being that there's a lot of people that, as the prosecutor, there's, of course, always threats and different. That's just the price I pay for doing the job. But it's allowed very direct access where people message me with different things, and I'm able to screenshot that and send it to our team to look at a particular case, a particular unsolved cold case. I want to be able to find a way where the public can more directly access our office.
She says she's open to suggestions. Taryn Mento, KPBS News.
The races for 2 open San Diego County supervisor seats will be decided in November. One race is close, the other not so much. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has details.
Republican Jim Desmond was a big winner in the District 5 race yesterday, but the margin of victory didn't preclude a runoff with either Michelle Gomez or Jim Kern. They are competing to fill the seat held for 23 years by Bill Horn. In the District 4 race, Democrat Nathan Fletcher holds the top spot heading toward the November runoff. The former assembly member says San Diego County voters are tired of all those Republicans on the Board of Supervisors.
Heading into November, we have a county board that voted to spend San Diego's tax dollars supporting Donald Trump's agenda in San Diego. They're not spending those dollars in the neighborhoods. And so we want to see a fundamental change in the approach and the mission and the vision and the direction of the county.
Fletcher will battle the second-place finisher, Republican and former District Attorney Bonnie Dumanis. She says it's time for the county to loosen its purse strings and put money into affordable housing.
My top issue has been homelessness and also housing affordability, because they're part of the same crisis that exists right now. So I want to put money into having $100 million per year go towards affordable housing as loans, because they can leverage that for up to $400 million per year, and we'll be able to house those that are either on the street or low income, about 1,000 a year.
Former Democrat Assemblymember Lori Saldana finished third in that contest. The winner will replace Ron Roberts, who held that seat for 23 years. Both he and Bill Horn were forced from office thanks to recently passed term limit legislation. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
The November matchups are set for the San Diego City Council. Here's a look at who's advancing from the primary. In District 2, it will be Lori Zapp against Jennifer Campbell. In District 4, Myrtle Cole and Monica Montgomery. In District 6, Chris Cate and Tommy Howe. District 8 is an open seat due to term limits. Vivian Moreno and Antonio Martinez are advancing to the general election. A noteworthy result in a local judicial race, an incumbent who was censured by the state and rated unqualified by the San Diego County Bar Association won his primary. San Diego Superior Court Judge Gary Creep was reprimanded for nearly 30 acts of misconduct by the State Commission on Judicial Performance. He made headlines in 2012 for claiming President Barack Obama was not a U.S. citizen. Creep's opponent in November will be Deputy District Attorney Matt Brower. In the lead up to the primary election, KPBS has worked with iNewsSource to follow the money. Earlier today, I talked with iNewsSource reporter Jill Castellano about whether campaign donations impacted the results. Jill, reflecting on last night's primary, we can look back to the race for the 49th Congressional District, which was extremely competitive, and millions of dollars, as you know, went into backing the 16 candidates. How did that impact the race?
It definitely impacted the race. It also predicted a little bit how this turned out. The front runners early on were Rocky Chavez, a Republican, and Doug Applegate, a Democrat. Neither of them ended up making it through. What we see is that Rocky Chavez only managed to raise $230,000 for his own campaign, and about $1.8 million were spent opposing him by Democratic groups, negative attack ads and things like that. They seemed pretty successful in making him a less popular candidate, and as a result, the Republican who landed on the ticket for the fall was Diane Harkey instead of Rocky Chavez. And as for the Democrats, Doug Applegate wasn't a good enough fundraiser. He only raised $890,000, and 3 other Democratic candidates raised more than him, including the one who ended up winning on the ticket in second place with 17% of the vote, environmental attorney Mike Levin.
And a lot of attention was paid to how much outside money was coming in for the San Diego County District Attorney's race. And as you know, more than $2 million was raised and went into to support the candidate Genevieve Jones-Wright. Why did that not work?
It's a really interesting case. A lot of money went into that race to support her because this is the first time the seat was open after 15 years of a Republican serving as district attorney. There was an interim district attorney, Summer Stephan, but a lot of people thought maybe this is the time for a reform candidate, Genevieve Jones-Wright. $2 million of outside money. It looks like it wasn't enough. What happened here? It could have been that they thought that it just wasn't time for this kind of candidate here right now, a progressive reform candidate. Or perhaps what we're seeing is that Stephan's got so much more name recognition that Genevieve Jones-Wright, even with the money, just couldn't make it happen.
So, Jill, let's move on to the San Diego County Board of Supervisors, the District 4 Ron Roberts seat, now that he is terming out this year. Nathan Fletcher, former assemblyman, and Bonnie DeMantis, former district attorney, they were the top two moving on to face off in the November general election. What can we expect when it comes to fundraising?
Well, we know that in the fall that Nathan Fletcher is going to have a big advantage fundraising-wise over Bonnie DeMantis. He has a lot of help from the Democratic Party. We know he'll continue to get some money from them. Lorena Gonzalez Fletcher, his wife, is an assemblywoman in the California State Assembly. We also know that there's a lot of labor union money going to support him. And some of the labor union money that's been supporting the other Democratic candidates in this race might come forward and back him as well, knowing that he's the chance to flip this seat to a Republican. Meanwhile, Bonnie DeMantis only captured 27% of the vote, and she's the only Republican in the race. So it's going to be an uphill battle for her to get her name out there and get the attention so that way she can win the seat.
Things might heat up. Very interesting. Thank you so much. iNews Source reporter Jill Castellano, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You can find more results and reaction to last night's election results at kpbs.org/election. KPBS will continue to cover the candidates and issues in the months leading up to the general election in November. A trial has been ordered for Richard Fisher. He's the San Diego Sheriff's deputy accused of groping and inappropriately touching 13 women. The charges against Fisher include assault and battery by an officer, sexual battery, and false imprisonment. An arraignment is set for June 20th. Fisher faces nearly 15 years in prison if convicted. A brush fire in East County led to evacuation warnings today. CAL FIRE says the brush fire started around 10 this morning along Highway 94. Evacuation warnings were given to those living on North Campbell Truck Trail and La Posta Road. CAL FIRE says the fire grew to 200 acres by the afternoon. There has been no report of any damage to buildings. CAL FIRE says one firefighter was treated for a minor injury. Well, we can expect more warm, sunny weather through the weekend. Julia Wyden has details in tonight's forecast.
Hi, good evening. Our morning June gloom continues. So as we head on into the start of your Thursday, expect to see a good amount of cloud cover in your coastal spots. Areas farther inland, though, should be staying rather clear. Into the afternoon, temperatures will be warming on up. In fact, we'll see those numbers coming up a little bit above average. For folks out in the desert areas, that means triple digits. And as we look out ahead into the next several days, we'll likely be staying dry. No showers in store. As we take a look at our current satellite and radar imagery, this is a blank slate here. Really not much to discuss on our map right now, and that goes for a lot of California. A couple little sprinkles up into northern Nevada, but really not too much of an issue. As we move on into the weekend in the Pacific Northwest, there will be a potent cold front dropping through that region. They'll experience rain and even some snow all the way down to pass level in the Cascades. Pretty interesting thing. You don't see that too often this time of year, but of course that will not be impacting us locally or even throughout the state of California. I think we'll be staying rather dry. Temperatures tonight will drop down to the low 60s under partly cloudy skies. As we look around the area, you'll see that coastal spots will be in the 50s off to our north, like Oceanside, getting down to 55 degrees. Taking you on into your daytime hours tomorrow, Oceanside up to 72. We'll be at 81 in Ramona, and hey, Borrego Springs, I mentioned those triple-digit temperatures. You'll be feeling that all the way up to 102 degrees. At the coast, again, looking at a little bit of a weekend warm up here. Nothing too major, but we'll go from low 70s on Thursday to the mid and upper 70s for Friday and the weekend. Lots of sunshine expected in the afternoon. But again, the morning will start off with that very thick cloud cover. Farther inland, we don't have as much in the way of those clouds to worry about. Temperatures will be in the mid 80s for Friday and Saturday, low 80s on Sunday. That's after topping out at 78 on Thursday. And for the mountains, temperatures will be in the 70s. Folks in the desert region into the triple digits.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, key takeaways from this year's biggest primary election day, including contests in California. Coming up at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
San Diego State University is working with a private developer to build university housing just a half block from the main campus. School officials say it's a similar kind of public-private partnership San Diego State plans to use to develop the Mission Valley Stadium site. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has details.
The Montage on College project is just a short walk south of campus. Scaffolding covers the outside of the 6th floor building, which will house students taking classes at San Diego State.
This is our building. This will be the primary entrance.
Bruce McKee is a project manager from Capstone Development Partners. Workers are pushing to open on schedule this fall, and he walks inside what will be the building's main lobby.
As students walk in, they're going to be greeted with the administrative offices where San Diego State residential life staff as well as building maintenance and facilities staff will be, not unlike what a student would experience on campus entering a San Diego State University on-campus housing project.
And that's one of the project's keys. The 300 or so students that end up living here should feel just like they're living on campus.
These are a little more done. Watch your step, sorry about that.
Even though Capstone is operating the complex on a 50-year lease.
We've adopted the San Diego State University on-campus housing regulations, so they abide by the same regulations here that they would if they lived on campus.
So when students lounge around the swimming pool-sized hot tub in the structure's central courtyard, it'll feel like an on-campus housing unit, not a private development located a short walk from the school. This partnership with a developer could be the basis for developing the Mission Valley Stadium site.
Every public-private partnership is a little bit unique and different. In this situation, the developer was able to provide some revenue up front to the SDSU Research Foundation, and then there's a profit sharing that goes on along the course of the ground lease.
This is a new way to meet the school's appetite for campus housing. Hansen says the university wants units for many of its freshmen and sophomore students. 6 years ago, the school only had 3,200 beds.
Right now, for this next fall, we'll have about 5,700 beds that we will be operating, and then we anticipate when the Sophomore Success Program is fully implemented, we'll have about 8,000 beds.
SDSU has traditionally used revenue bond financing to build housing. There's a new West Campus tower. It's on campus and will be paid off with student rent over time. Like other campus buildings, the project is exempt from property taxes. But the Capstone development is different. Under this new approach to build housing, the developer leases the land, builds the structure, and manages the building for 50 years. Because this is student housing, Capstone gets a pass on paying property taxes, an important financial consideration for the developer.
We've got a lot of experience in developing capital projects going back many decades.
Robert Eaton is the California State University Assistant Vice Chancellor, and he says this kind of relationship might be new to SDSU, but it's been done at other CSU campuses.
There are some types of projects that we do very well. There are other types of projects where we think maybe the risk is a little higher for us. Maybe it's a particular type of project that is not within our expertise.
Eaton says CSU officials have approved more than 20 of these public-private partnerships. He says the Innovation Village at the Cal Poly Pomona campus and the StubHub Sports Center at the Dominguez Hills campus are just two. Both generate some property taxes.
Those are excellent examples of what we've been able to do and our capabilities, and we can take that expertise and that experience and translate it to the vision of the university at the Mission Valley development.
That's important because CSU trustees will have to sign off on any deals negotiated by San Diego State University. SDSU officials want to build more than 4,000 housing units in Mission Valley, including market rate, affordable, and student-faculty housing units. School officials are adamant that those projects will generate property taxes for the city. They also say that the public-private deals will eliminate the need to spend taxpayer dollars as those projects raise money to develop Mission Valley. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
KPBS is a service of San Diego State University. The California Coastal Commission is in Chula Vista today. They're examining the Navy's plan to limit the damage to marine life in the waters off the coast. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh has the story.
The Coastal Commission rejected the Navy's plan for handling wildlife off the coast of California. The Navy is in the middle of renewing its 5-year plan to minimize the impact of training on wildlife off the coast of California and Hawaii. Current plan is the product of lawsuits from environmental groups which limited where the Navy could use explosives and sonar in breeding areas and other sensitive habitats. The Navy's current plan already uses marine spotters to detect marine mammals and turtles. The Coastal Commission staff recommended that expanding the areas where training exercise must be shut down if marine life is sighted within 2 kilometers. It would also prohibit the use of explosives and mid-range sonar to protect breeding and migration routes. But the Commission voted unanimously to reject the plan. The Natural Resources Defense Council testified those measures don't go far enough. The sonar use will disrupt the habitat of millions of marine mammals, including leading to potential hearing loss. Navy spokesman Alex Stone says they will continue to work with the Commission. The current plan expires December 25th. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/Evening Edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.